All right, this is Ranking of Cage Part 5, Racing with the Moon. I'm Colton Wallace, joined by Quinn Foster
Hey guys.
and Scott Kudron.
Hello.
So, first things first, we'll start with the synopsis from Just Watch. In a small coastal California town, Henry and Nikki are pals from blue collar families with only a short time before they ship off to World War II. Henry begins romancing new to town Caddy Winger, believing her to be wealthy. Mischievous and irresponsible, Nikki gets into trouble, which forces the other two to become involved, testing the relationship as well as the friendship between the boys. Um, and this movie was released in 1984. So I'll walk through the movie now. So we have Henry, who's played by Sean Penn, Nikki, played by Nicolas Cage, Caddy Winger, played by Elizabeth McGovern. And so Henry and Nikki are about to be 18 and sent off into World War II. And they work in a bowling alley. And it kind of opens with them like, it shows that they're dealing with this idea of being sent off to war. Um, and then they're out, and you see Henry trying to get the attention of this girl who works as the movie theater attendant. This is Caddy. And eventually he figures out she lives in a mansion, and then he kind of assumes she's rich. So he then finds her again where he's walking around, and Caddy sees him, and then she waves him over and gets him to go on like a double date with one of her friends. So they go out on a double date, and Henry's very socially awkward throughout most of this. But he does talk to Caddy when he's out, and they continue to kind of evolve their relationship. And the movie focuses a lot on these different scenes while they're kind of getting to know each other. And like he takes her to some weird abandoned building where he shows off his piano skills. They discuss the fears of going to war. And it culminates in this scene where they strip and go swimming in a standard looking lake and then have sex on the shoreline. Um, and then in our Nikki storyline, Nikki's girlfriend Sally is pregnant, and he's trying to get money to pay for the abortion. He asks Henry for help with getting this money together. While hanging out and drinking, he then has a freak out about freedom and the American eagle and tries to get a tattoo on his chest while they're out drinking. And he hasn't figured out how to get the money at this point. Then we go back to Caddy is with Henry, and she's trying on some fancy blue shoes, but she doesn't purchase them, which kind of is like then Henry asks her like, why didn't she buy them? And they get into a discussion about her money, and Henry asks her for help paying for the getting money for Nikki to pay for the abortion. And then he figures out that she's not actually rich because her mom works at the mansion as a maid, so she's not actually part of this rich family. So following this, Henry agrees to try and help Nikki. And the way they do this, they talk about how they've done it before, is they try to hustle these Navy guys at a pool game. And of course, they lose the pool game in the end. And then they run away without paying up because they didn't actually have the money they bet. And then after this, Caddy doesn't have the money, as we figured out. Her family's not rich, but she talks to the daughter of the rich family, who she seems to have a friendship with from the couple scenes we see. And the daughter gets her the $150, and then basically gets the money. And then Sally gets an abortion. And then after this, Henry's angry at Nikki because he wasn't not being there really for Sally when she had the abortion, and kind of he implies being a shitty boyfriend. They eventually make up and become friends again. And then Caddy and Henry are in love, and like he's going to war. He kisses her before he leaves on the train to go to war. And then at the end, they don't get on the train, but they wait for it to leave. Then they run after the train and jump on it as it's driving away. And that's the end of the movie. That's Racing with the Moon.
We talk about how cheerful the ending, like the credits music is for two guys
Right,
about
two
to
guys
go
going
off
to
and
World
fight.
War II. Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about this one?
I thought it was all right. It was, or I thought it was kind of cool the way they kind of did it. Um, Obviously, it was an '80s movie set in what
42,
49, 42,
1942. Yep.
1942. So I haven't seen too many movies kind of set in that time period, and then especially since it's made in in the '80s, it I feel like it gives a more true like setting, I guess. It's
Yeah.
kind of closer versus if somebody were trying to make a World War II
Yeah,
video
it's true. I guess it's
movie
like
right now,
almost 40 years
right?
later.
Versus like 80 years, but Nicolas Cage definitely played a Nicolas Cage character in this
Right.
movie,
Yeah.
loud
Yep.
and drunk and outspoken. So I think he was
Almost,
the perfect person for the role again.
yeah, almost like his attitude in Valley Girl.
Right. Kind of a
Yep.
doesn't give a shit about anything, drinks all the time, is, kind of carefree, obviously, until he gets his girl pregnant. And
Right. Even after, though, he's kind of carefree and
right. He's accepted his fate, essentially, right? Going
right.
off to war.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the movie kind of revolves around that idea of going off to war, right? Like that's the the background underlying thing I feel like in all the situations for describing kind of the way a lot of the people are acting has to do with the war and the fact that they're going off to war, right? Like a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff is kind of it's all in the orbit of that they're going off to war.
Right. And you kind of saw that with when Caddy took him into the medical ward at the hospital, or
Right.
the army ward or the military ward, and he kind of talks to the one dude with his arm or his leg chopped off or blown off or whatever happened to him, and he gets upset at Caddy for taking him there because he thought that Caddy was trying to teach him a lesson about joking about being injured
Right.
at all, and so
Right.
Mhm.
I felt like it did a pretty good job of like bringing up that World War II related stuff without like just straight up saying it right to you with a line of dialogue. I felt like it did an okay job of like kind of bringing the war stuff up more naturally as opposed to like outright forcing it into dialogue lines.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they presented it in a very stomachable way, I guess. Not as harsh as you could have done it, I guess, but because it's such a main theme, I think that it did it very well.
Mm-hmm. So, $150 was the money Nikki was trying to get for the abortion, and I was trying. I'm thinking like, I wonder what that would amount to now. And according to an inflation calculator that I found on the internet, it says that $150 in 1942 would be equivalent to $2,700 in 2022.
Hmm.
So, quite a large sum of money if we're to believe that.
Yep. Sounds about right, though.
That's a
Actually.
lot of money. Dang.
Yeah, right.
I remember they were talking like they were sitting outside the trailer or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, it's not a bad gig. $150 for like an hour of work or something like that, probably."
Right, right.
It's like, kind of grotesque.
Yeah. Kudra, what do you think about this? You can tell by his face he hates it.
Okay, that hate's a strong word. Hate's a strong word. I don't know. I mean, this movie took me 2 sittings to go to finally finish, just because the movie just. I mean, there are times I just kind of felt bored.
I gotcha.
And you know what? One of the things I did remember, like going back to the movie girl, like the girl in the movie, who was
Valley Girl?
monitoring the tickets and such.
Wait,
I don't even remember her name.
Caddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and then Sean Penn's character, Peace, clearly fix it. Like, was stalking just something they did
Oh,
in
dude,
the
I
80s?
know. I feel like so
Well,
many movies that like take place in like the 80s or earlier. There's so much like weird like stuff like that happens. But yeah, like where he jumps on the bus and just like follows her up to her house.
yeah, it's like
Wild.
that's so creepy.
Yeah, super. 100%.
Uh, But at the very least, the one thing I will appreciate about this, like, if you're gonna do this creepy thing, I can at least appreciate the fact that it's played for drama, and the fact that it leads to this massive misunderstanding.
Yeah, I guess that was the way they chose to show that misunderstanding, right? And
Mhm.
you have to think what maybe yeah, there's no way around it. It was weird.
Yeah,
But
Right.
I like just a few of the other things that kind of stood out. It's like I was curious because there was the one scene, going back, you're talking about the World War II, where they were almost doing the almost like World War II drills. Like there was this like the one scene at they're at the school
mhm.
and
Oh
they're
yeah, they were doing like a practice, I think, for like the nurses, maybe like they were like because the nurses were practicing to pick up injured soldiers,
yep.
and then they changed the music and play some 1940s song, I assume.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering. Like, I really wonder if that was a thing. I guess I have no reason to assume it wasn't, but
Right.
it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what this movie's trying to get to, though, is kind of like the feeling of somebody who's 17, 18 that's about to be sent off to the war. And it's like, and that's why I think it does a good job of showing that because it doesn't just like outright say it to you, but if you
Mhm.
watch it in the context of these are two 17-year-olds who are about to literally be shipped off to a war and World War
Yep.
II, like I think that's kind of the drive of what the whole movie's trying to explain.
Well, I mean, it kind of does though, because it's the characters are asked several times, like, when are they shipping out? And they're like, oh, I'm shipping out in like 6 days or etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really have any super strong feelings toward this movie personally. Uh, I mean, the romance. I I mean, it's movie romance, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
it's a little weird and awkward, and I don't know if that's like them trying to capture a 1942 scene. I don't know a lot about 1942 to be honest, so maybe
and
there's some but I
yeah.
that their like romantic interactions did feel like weird to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Well, I'm not the only one who felt that way.
what did you think about the lake? Because they talked up the lake like it was this really cool place, and I'm like, that looks like a mildly shitty lake. I don't think I'd want. I mean, eh,
I think they're confined to such a small area that you can find something that's away from everybody else. It's kind of a
right?
nice thing to have.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a nice lake. It was brown water. I mean, it was kind of serene because it was, away from everybody. But other than that, yeah.
The one thing I will say, thinking about that scene,
mhm,
and I didn't really put two and two together until now when I was thinking about it, because Nicolas Cage's character, like, I think it was, I forget the order of the scenes, if it was earlier or later. Well, like when they're drunk walking down the train tracks, and like, Cage is pissed at Sean Penn because it's like, hey, because he after he confessed that he got the girl, he got his girlfriend pregnant,
yeah,
and Sean Penn's all exasperated. It's like, you're no different than I am. You've just been lucky.
yeah,
And that right there, when they're in the lake, they have sex,
yeah.
and I'd be very surprised if they had any form of protection with
That's
them.
true.
Just
That's
gonna
true.
throw that out there.
Thinking about that. Do you guys understand what the deal with the train thing was? Because it's on the cover of the movie, and they do it earlier in the movie, and then they do it at the end too. And I do not understand what the idea of like the chasing the train and jumping on it is. That did something just completely
I don't know.
slip
It's
by me
probably
there?
some like metaphor or something like that for the war or like their
I
lives. I don't know. I'm not good at those types of things.
Yeah,
like
so
kind of
that
reading into the symbolism of things.
um
I mean, it
let's talk
seems that's
about
like a game that they had been playing throughout like their childhood, like train racing.
oh, okay.
Because he explains it to Sean Penn. I don't remember any of the character names in this one.
Henry and Nikki.
Henry ends up explaining it to Caddy, where like they're talking about how you got to run, you run with the run up to the train, you got to grab it, but you got to be careful
Mhm.
because like you can get sucked under and
Right.
effectively die.
Yeah, the PSA for like anyone that's watching that movie where they jump on trains, it is highly dangerous to try and jump on trains like that. Don't
Yeah,
ever try
moving
to do
train.
that. Yeah, don't do that. um but yeah, let's talk about 1942 isms. Just weird stuff that is in this movie that's like of a time. Like in the opening scene where the bowling alley and they're manually back there resetting the pins.
I love the bowling alley. That is so awesome that they're resetting the pins and then they throw the balls back. I thought that was so cool.
Oh man. Um and then like when they're working, like the clothing they work in, it's like full on dress pants and like a button up shirt, which it just seems so weird to think about like doing like a bunch of physical labor in like dress pants now.
Right. Cigarettes all the time.
Yes, well, and then he smokes a cigarette and throws it on the gym floor. Like it's just
Right.
that's just
And
what
then he
you do.
rolls
You
over it.
just and then where the part it's with Caddy and Henry when it's showing like their love montage where they're laying down in the middle of a road like that. You don't do that. Like that
Oh
must have
yeah,
been.
that was. I think that goes again like that. Well, some of those scenes were just really weird.
I think, but maybe in 1942 that could have been a thing because like there was a problem. That was earlier than 1942, but like in the late 20s and 1930s, there was a problem of people getting hit by cars because they didn't understand like the idea. Like they would just walk and get hit by cars. People were getting hit by cars all the time when cars were first like becoming a prevalent thing everywhere because there just was no concept of it before. So there were a ton. There was I don't remember if it was some administration, I think, was like working on ways to get people to pay attention to the cars and not get hit by them. I can't remember. I think it was a podcast I listened to, but um, yeah, it was really interesting. So I do think maybe people just had less like understanding and fear of laying in the middle of a road. But I think that might have been prior to 1942. Um, Yeah, so that and then at the end of the movie when Caddy gives him a wallet picture, that was cute. A cute little World War II 1942ism.
Yeah.
Do people still carry around wallet pictures of loved ones?
I think so.
Okay,
I
maybe people still
Or
do
they put
that.
them in their hat. I know a lot of people like put them in their
Put them in their
if
hat.
they put them in the brim of their hat. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
interesting.
older individuals do, but I feel like nowadays it's like I feel like if you have pictures of loved ones, you're just
Look
keeping
at
them on
this
your
phone I got. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel
Mm.
like our generation has passed like physical photographs, but maybe I may be wrong.
Yeah. So, are we ready to rank this? Or you guys got any more thoughts on this one?
I'm ready to go. I think
All
it's a
right.
solid movie.
Yeah, I think so
But
too.
yeah.
I liked overall, I think I liked it. I kind of liked the way it was presenting its message. Like you said, Kudrow, it was a little boring through some of it. I think some of it could have been a little shorter. Maybe some of the like plot points were kind of dragged out a bit. I found some of it entertaining though. Some of the period piece aspects were interesting, like some of the 1942 things. And I think its message about like these young men being sent off to war and kind of their whole experience leading up to that was an interesting concept. But
Yeah, I think the setting for it. I just feel like I don't think I've seen very many movies with the setting of California,
mhm.
especially in this time period.
Right.
I feel like
And
more like war movies, I'd be like, oh, the Midwest, or like, I don't know,
Mhm.
the East Coast, or like in a city or something like that, rather than like rural California.
well, and also a lot of the war movies are focused on like the war and scenes
Mhm.
like in the battlefield, right?
Right.
Whereas this is like the before that in kind of the pre-shipment phase.
Mhm.
So I guess for me, like I thought it was pretty good. I think I would give this movie. I'm torn between a B and somewhere between C and B. And I think maybe where I land then for me personally is a C plus because I it's it's like an interesting movie to watch, but it can be a little boring. So I don't know if it's quite deserving of being a B. I think I would give it. I think I'd give it a C plus for my personal ranking.
I think that's a good ranking. I think, as far as I'm concerned, a C plus is a solid ranking, like Kudrow and you had said. The slowness kind of gets you a little bit,
Mhm.
and which can kind of make you not want to focus on the movie as
Right.
much. But
If you had cut, if I could go in and like cut out like 20 minutes of content, I think maybe this is like a B. But yeah, I'm
right,
a C plus for sure for me.
and I don't know, it was definitely interesting to watch at most of the parts. I think, and Nicolas Cage did a good job. So I think that deserves some recognition as well. So, but yeah, C plus for me.
Beginning to wonder if we need to have like separate rankings where it's like, not do we rank the movie itself, but then we rank the Nicolas Cage performance separately.
Kudrow just wants to trash this movie. Like, he's been waiting to like just really bomb this one.
I mean, I guess I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I mean, like, I don't really have any strong feelings, positive or negative, about this movie. As I said, like, I thought some of the things were a little weird. I'm very glad the stalking as love trope is on its way out as a storytelling thing. I don't know. I could swing between either. I could swing between C or D plus. But I'm gonna. I mean, I feel like this conversation's actually made me appreciate maybe some things I didn't. I wasn't really appreciating on the actual viewing, so I'll say C.
All right, Kudrow is at a
Wow,
C.
I think
All
that's the
right,
most consistent
I think
besides
yeah,
Valley Girl.
yeah, I think that is the most consistent. All right, so we got our overall ranking of Cage list here. So we were all at C. So I mean, or do we go? Is this in the C tier?
I
And
think so.
then I think I would say this is probably above Leaving Las Vegas. What do you guys feel?
I totally agree with that. That is
You guys both didn't like
no
it. All
question.
No,
right.
I actually disagree with that. I think
Oh,
leaving
oh,
Las Vegas is higher. But
All right, all right. We can't. I'm torn. There's things I like about Leaving Las Vegas, but I, I
Leaving
never
Las
want to see.
Vegas is a F for me. So
yeah, Quinn
I,
hated that movie. I liked it. Because I gave it a B.
all
So
right, so I'm torn between the two. So if whenever Josh is back, probably next week, we'll see what he feels about the movement there. We'll leave it both in the C tier for now, though. So, Racing with the Moon is a C. And if you would like to see the full ranking, you can see it on our website, srankmedia.com. Yeah. And that is Ranking of Cage Part 5.